Senator Warren isn't the only lawmaker unlikely to get behind President Trump and his cabinet picks anytime soon. A new online poll from Politico shows a majority of Democratic voters are giving elected officials the green light to obstruct at every single turn along the way. His former Deputy Chief of Staff, as we said, under President George W. Bush. Carl, you look at that vote, it's pretty close. Tillerson's vote was also pretty close, and I'm reminded of the fact that Senator Sessions voted to confirm Eric Holder for President Obama, and those votes were much stronger. With much less opposition.
Yeah, look, I thought one of your previous guests who sort of blamed this on the Republicans forgot the fact, she said the Tea Party set this in motion. When President Obama came in, virtually every one of his nominees was supported, many of them in voice votes. The president was given the due deference that any president deserves to put his cabinet in place. The degree of partisanship that is being exhibited now is beyond belief. It is not helpful to the process. In the short run, I think it's helpful to the Democrats, particularly the left wing of the Democrats, as Charles said, but it's also helpful to the Republicans. But ultimately, this just leads to more poisoning of the water, more poisoning of the atmosphere, and more difficulty to bring our country together.
It's pretty poisonous, to be sure. And to that, I want to play for everybody at home and for you, Carl, this from Senator Tim Scott. He stood up and read some of the tweets that he received for supporting Senator Jeff Sessions. Watch this.
A white man in a black body. You are a disgrace to the black race. How does a black man turn on his own? Senator Tim Scott is not an Uncle Tom. He doesn't have a shred of honor. He's a house Negro, like the one in Django. I'm a complete horror. A black man who's a racist against black people. A big Uncle Tom piece of fertilizer. Think for yourselves. You are a disgrace to your race. I left out all the ones that used the N-word. Just felt like that would not be appropriate.
That is sad. And that's where we are, Carl.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's amazing to me is the characterization of, look, I understand Coretta Scott King's letter. Let's talk about that case for a minute. A group of local black elected officials in Perry County, Alabama, complained to the U.S. Attorney about fraud because in this county of roughly 15,000 people, more people had cast absentee ballots than in the entire city of Birmingham, which has 700,000 people. And there was pretty widespread sense that in this largely black community, that black elected officials had an effort led against them by other blacks to play around with the absentee ballots. Now, one of the three people charged was a longtime associate of the King family. And I can understand Coretta Scott King coming forward and at the time defending her family friend. But the fact of the matter is that this was not a case involving white versus black or black versus white. This was an overwhelmingly black county with black elected officials who felt that they had been the victims of election chicanery by other blacks, and the U.S. Attorney had an obligation to investigate and file charges if need be.